On this week's Hot List, lessons from Malang. While mourning the dead, what now must be done to ensure this never happens again? Stepping up, a major political party announces its presidential candidate for 2024. Is Anies Baswedan ready? And using your Noodle on its 50th birthday, why is this Indonesian product the world's best-selling instant ramen? Hello and welcome. This is Hot Indonesia. I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. Let's get to it. My co-hosts, Millie Lukito, CEO of the Mobiliati Group from her home in Jakarta, and Linda Ibrahim, writer and business consultant based in Jakarta. Hot topic number one, lessons from Malang. Emotional Arema soccer fans ran onto the field in Malang in East Java last Saturday night after a loss to rival Persibaya. But what happened next was a deadly nightmare. After violence escalated, police fired tear gas into the remaining crowd. In the panic that followed, 131 people were killed, with hundreds more hurt. The president ordered an investigation. 10 police officers were fired within days. Now, so many questions remain. First, Linda, is there a logical explanation to what happened? I mean, I've been getting a lot of inquiries. What do you tell your friends overseas how something like this could occur?
Two things. First is that I believe there is no crowd control system within the police and within PSSI, the Indonesian National Football Association. They both of them should have a crowd control system, and they don't have it. And even if we went back to like the biggest sporting event that we ever had, Asian Games 2018, I was there since the opening, and every single day for a lot of matches throughout the city, and I could see that we had very weak crowd control system. So I think that was what happened. Say they didn't know anything to manage the crowd other than when the crowd got wild and they would punch back or punch down, something along that line. Unfortunately, so what happened with this incident? Oh, that was the first factor. The second factor, we have to admit, unfortunately, so that supporters of Indonesian football clubs tend to be emotional. I live very close to a football stadium, and I would see even for Persija, even when they were winning, they sometimes run them out. So this is a very deadly combination because one doesn't know how to manage the crowd, and the crowd gets to be emotional. So what happened in Malang was because Arema lost, and they're the home team actually. There were no supporters whatsoever from Persebaya. Persebaya had been banned from coming because they're bitter rivals. So home team lost, supporters went down to actually chase after their own players and the players of Persebaya. And the police didn't know any better than to get violent.
Yeah, well, I saw video of fans hugging players right after the game.
That too happened. I mean, you get all sorts. If there's like 2,000 people coming onto the field, a lot of emotions gonna happen.
Okay, and we've all seen videos on social media. You know, this whole thing hurts this country's reputation.
Yes.
It hurts professional football everywhere. Everywhere. We've seen videos from supporters around the world offering their condolences. But you know what? Families of the victims don't care about that. Yeah, they don't care about that. Their loved ones are dead at a sporting event. So Millie, where do you point your finger of blame at?
Okay, what I notice is the armed forces, the police especially, they are also panic. They also panic because they are not well trained in, like Linda said, they are not well trained in how to manage the large crowd. What I see is they immediately panic and they launch the tear gas, which is not allowed by FIFA regulations. Why did they launch the tear gas? Is because they also panic and they want this to stop instantly. And that cannot happen. And also the armed forces, the ABRI we call it, their members are also, they look panic and they even kick some of the supporters. They hit the supporters themselves. So this is truly a tragedy for the armed forces, especially because this week we were celebrating the armed forces, and number one, they have to prioritize making us feel safe, and they have not been successful in doing that.
Okay, now let's separate. Military is separate from the police, yeah? Military is separate from the
Right.
police.
No, but yes,
Yes.
Dalton, that's true for most countries. But I must add here, in Indonesia, for some funny reasons, large events they should have just employed police because that's what police is supposed to do, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Control the civilian crowd.
But at this event, there were only police, right?
No.
Also, the military. The military was there.
There were what you call that? Angkatan Darat, army.
Yes, the army was there.
The circulating video of the army in green, full combat gear, kicking the back of like two supporters.
Yeah, I've seen that video. You know,
But that's the thing. Indonesia, unfortunately, army tend to be deployed as well to handle civilian crowd, and that's one of the biggest problems for Indonesia since the new order.
And one question remains is, you know, 2 police officers were killed among those dead. Did it happen before the tear gas or after tear gas? Because if it happened before, that might have led them to panic if they saw their fellow officer going down. League One, the Professional Football League One, yeah, the top league, games have been canceled for at least 2 weeks now. Now, if games resume, ladies, maybe we have to go back to COVID protocols for the time being. No spectators in the stands at all until the investigation is over and things cool down. Will you agree, Linda?
I will. But I think that's what they said as well, that one of the things they tried to do was Arema was not going to be allowed to hold any game within 100 kilometers away from Malang or something along that line, which is like practically saying that, you know, your supporters can't come, it's too far. So that's, I think, what they did.
Yeah, home matches were canceled at that stadium, but
Yeah.
generally to show some kind of proactive approach, maybe they should go back to COVID protocols and no spectators in the stands. You know, I think that several things must happen now if we want to talk about solutions. If policies in place were violated, then punish those responsible. I mean, you have to show an action and a reaction. Now, event coordination, Linda, you mentioned that must be improved. Police or whoever is there, police, military, must inform stadium operators if they're going to take action like firing tear gas. So that means they must open as many exits as they're possible. I understand that stadium had one exit and one entrance, the same. So they had to go in and out of the same, and that obviously was clogged. And then the league should create an education program, yeah? Flyers, brochures, social media blasts, going out to the communities, especially to the young people, educating them on how to act and how not to act at sporting events like this. I mean, you can't just punish, then you must go forward and try to educate. Millie, agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think I'm very happy that we are back to normal again, and we have a football match again, because post-COVID, this is part of the recovery plan from government of Indonesia, is to have more events, more tournaments. So this is good. It's just, unfortunately, you know, the police and also law enforcement agencies are not doing their job correctly. Yeah.
And future games are in jeopardy. The under 20 World Cup, which we're supposed to hold next month, now that's in question. Next year, right? Last point, ladies. Let me read something to you here to wrap this segment up. Okay, this is in quotes. Anger resulted in fans invading the pitch. Police fired tear gas at the crowd, which caused them to panic and attempt to exit the stadium. A stampede followed, and people were crushed at the gates. Now, sounds like a news report from this week, right? Nope, this was from May 24th, 1964, in Peru, where 328 people, the world's worst stadium tragedy. Indonesia is now number 2 on that list. Hot Indo will continue shortly with Stepping Up. Is the Jakarta governor ready to be president?
saya ingin mengumumkan kerjasama dengan The Indonesia Channel. Saya mendorong semua entitas untuk bergabung dalam upaya ini dengan mempromosikan produk dan layanan mereka di platform digital yang unik ini.
I love Indonesia. I love the food. Yummy. Wow. I'm gonna hunt for ingredients. Now I'm ready to cook. Let's go to the kitchen. It's done. Let's meet to eat.
Foodiepedia on the Indonesia Channel.
I'm Trần Minh Ngân of VCCTV Net Việt in Hanoi.
I'm Thairat Thumya of Thailand's Thairat TV in Bangkok.
I'm Monica Sambodet from the National Television of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
I'm Raymond Go of Malaysia's TV3 in Kuala Lumpur.
I'm Glenda Chong of Singapore's Channel News Asia.
I'm Raisa Chantami of the Indonesia channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta.
This is your weekly look into the dynamic Southeast Asia region.
ASEAN Today on the Indonesia Channel.
The Best of Bali takes viewers on a special guided tour to the treasures of the island of the gods.
The romantic dinner is beautiful.
The Best of Bali, only on the Indonesia Channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia with Millie, Linda, and Mia. Here's hot topic number 2, stepping up. He was a man without a party until this week. The National Democrats announced Monday that Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan will be its candidate for president in 2024. NASDEM Chairman Suryapalo said he was looking for the, quote, best of the best in making the choice. The party is in a coalition with 2 other parties to meet the nomination threshold. Millie, disclosure right at the top. You've said before that you have been appointed the economics chief of the National Democrats Party. Not sure how much you can say, but I'm sure you agree with this choice, right? Why now? Why was the timing now?
Well, first of all, it is the prerogative rights of the chair of our party, Pak Surya Paloh, for choosing Anies Baswedan in this regard. But if you ask me, or if you want to go further, whether he is the right choice or whether he is probably not, I think this is a fresh election. Nobody is incumbent here. So everyone, whoever the other political candidate, presidential candidate, will have to step up because nobody has ever been president. So they have to really rethink again of what either they want to continue Pak Jokowi's already a lot of progress made during this past 10 years, or whether he or she wants to take another route and do fresh public policies and take regards of the results of the new public policy designs. So we shall see, Dalton. It's too early in the game.
Okay, but I'm sensing that you're not quite sure yet if he's the man. If that's fair to say. I know you're a strong Jokowi supporter, President Joko Widodo. So maybe for you, it's not the party, it's the man, right? And no matter who it is.
Okay, Dalton, let me be clear here. Whoever is the next president, for me, it doesn't matter. And can continue the good things, growth of Indonesian economy. That's all that matters for me.
But being part of your party and being one of the leaders, obviously you support your chairman's choice. Because I know some other leaders in other communities have resigned because of this choice, but you're standing firm, right, Mil?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Now, in accepting the nomination, the governor said that he embraces democracy, respects pluralism, and seeks prosperity for all. Linda, he had a different public image when he ran or won his gubernatorial race 5 years ago against the Christian incumbent, right?
Yes, and years before that, he had another image. He started off going on the national stage as an academic with very pluralistic views. He even he coined that term "tenun kebangsaan," the weave of nation. And then he backflipped to use identity politics to win the gubernatorial election of Jakarta. So if you ask me, what I think what is going to the next, I think the Anies Baswedan we see now is no longer the Anies Baswedan the academic. This is a pure Anies Baswedan politician, in which he's gonna do his political math, and whatever it takes to win, he will do that. If that requires him now to backflip again onto the pluralistic approach, he will do that. But if the political math, because 2 years is still a long way to go, if nearing to the election, the political math shows that he needs to stay on course on identity politics, and I have no doubt that Anies Baswedan has no problem whatsoever to continue on that path, regardless of what he said earlier in the week.
You're saying he's not a man strong in his convictions, you're saying?
He's got a conviction. That conviction is to win.
And all politicians want to do that. Now, because of a change in the election law, the governor steps down this month, while a caretaker moves in until the February 2024 voting. So, Millie, Baswedan loses his very public platform in the crucial year before the election.
Yes, but it doesn't matter because now he has resumed a new role, which is a presidential candidate. And that is a role that is important, prestigious, and he has accepted that mandate. So we'll see the next coming days and years until 2024.
There's no denying when you're governor, you could be in the news every day, and as a political candidate, you're not. So
he will be. He'll find a way.
Okay, but you see my point. Yeah, he lost the free platform as governor, which it had to be because of this change. Now, Linda, you mentioned that Mr. Baswedan was education minister, or you didn't mention it, but he was education minister in the president administration before being replaced. There is an investigation about city spending in the Formula E car race that happened earlier this year. So, Linda, he has a bigger hill to climb than just losing public exposure.
Yes. But also, if you look at some of the independent journalistic reports, to this case, they also question whether or not this particular investigation was politically fueled. So there's that doubt as well from the journalists. I think I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about politics, but I found it very suspect that Nasdem decided to announce it very early, in the race earlier this week. And I think maybe that had something to do with prompting that, so at least now Anies would have a bigger wagon than just being the governor. He's going to have like a huge political party behind him to back him up with this allegation. But I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend I know what's going on inside the head of Surya Paloh. But 3 years is still a long time from now. We'll see what happens with this with the political climate and the investigation. I don't see Surya Paloh having too much of a difficulty to backtrack, closing to the election if.
Well, no, disclosure here too. I worked for the man for 8 years, Surya Paloh. He was known to go in early with his candidates. He was the first guy to back Joko Wee, if you remember, way back when he was running for president. So coming in early is not a surprise to me. He believes he's backing the right horse at this point, and he wants to be first. So
he's been backing right horses.
Yeah,
I admire his political math.
Sure, he had good success in the past. Okay, we got to move on. More Hot Indo is ahead. Using your noodle, how Indomie came to be the world's best-selling instant ramen.
I'm Caitlin Turner, and welcome to Yoga Bliss. Exhale, reaching down to triangle pose. Roll your knee out and up to the sky, breathing here.
Yoga Bliss, only on the Indonesia channel.
You are watching iPop Playlist.
iPop on the Indonesia channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia from Jakarta. Hot topic number 3, using your noodle. Happy 50th birthday to Indomie, the Indonesian staple first hit shelves in 1972, 14 years after its creation in Japan. It is now the world's best-selling instant noodle soup with 19 billion packets produced annually by maker Indo Food. We all remember our college days, or even before that, eating cheap cup noodles. Linda, is instant ramen more than just a budget saver?
I think it's also the convenience more so than the price. You know, you have to remember though, the cup noodle is different than the Indomie.
No, right. I'm just saying that the idea of instant ramen.
Yes, the idea of instant noodle is very easy to do. You don't really require a lot of utensils and crockeries to make them.
I mean, do you remember your first meal of Indomie? Indomie, either goreng or in a soup?
It wasn't Indomie, it was Super Me. Long before Indomie, and I think Millie would remember that there was another Indonesian company, and they had Super Me. So that was technically Indonesia's first instant noodle.
But did you have cup noodle here from Japan?
Yes, I have several brands, but I still prefer our own. I think.
Well, the thing about cup noodle was it was super convenient. You just pour the hot water in the cup and you didn't need a bowl. A Los Angeles Times review in 2021 rated Indomie Goreng the best instant noodle in the world. Millie.
I agree.
Millie, how has Indomie evolved in this country?
Okay, first of all, noodles, any kinds of noodles, are my middle name. Okay.
Okay.
I love noodles.
Millie Noodle Lukito.
You have many middle names, Millie. You said that about something else a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
Durian. It was durian.
Oh yeah. And noodles. Until 5 years ago, I was diagnosed gluten intolerant. So I had to stop. But Indomie Goreng and all kinds of Indomies are like, oh my God, that's like the best comfort food ever, forever.
It started out cheap and convenient, as Linda said, but my point is it evolved into something more. It's kind of a staple, a cult favorite.
Best. Yeah. But it tastes, the taste is...
Well, what makes it? Is it the spices? Or, I mean, is it really special or just convenience?
Spices. I think if I may,
Let's interview Exton Salim, and ask him to tell us the secret recipe.
Yeah, the owner of Indo Food, right? Yeah.
Indomie Goreng is like crazy good.
It's 50 years, and I haven't seen many celebrations so far. I hope they come out with something because Indomie has taken its place in Indonesia's culture. Yeah, in the world, but here it's like you have one in your cupboard every day, just like I have Spam. Okay, it is feedback time now. We talked last week about the global protests of the death of a woman in Iran. Philippus says, let it be like Saudi Arabia, where women are given the freedom to not wear the hijab headscarf. And Banyak said this about the corruption charges against Papua Governor Lucas Anembe. How can a leader enjoy luxury goods and gambling when his people are still in poverty? Here's how to contact us with your feedback. Email at hotindo@theindonesiachannel.com or comment through our Hot Indonesia or Indonesia Channel Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Final words, Millie.
Well, this week, Indonesians, all of us, are commemorating the Armed Forces Day. And it is poignant that we have seen so many trials, tribulations, challenges to the armed forces, to both the army and the police. So today, let us all pray or even hope and wish that finally our armed forces can improve, and can see themselves as the ultimate protector and safety provider for all Indonesians.
Final words, Linda.
First off, I want to extend my condolences to the football club Arema Malang, its supporters, and foremost the families of 125 victims. In lieu of what we said earlier about what I said earlier about the police and the armed forces, we all have to remember the separation of police from the Indonesian armed forces after 98 meant something, because the police was supposed to be focusing on handling civilians and the armed forces dealing with the military threat. But what happened was it's still confused in this country. There were army troops on the ground of football stadium, and that's a problem because they're not supposed to be managing unruly civilians. We're not at war. So that is the message I want to extend. The second message I want to extend to the elite, the military elite and the police elite in this country. Please, you are separated. You are separated for a reason. Keep them separated.
And my final words, several comments I've read on social media about the stadium tragedy insinuates that it happened because Indonesia is a, quote, third world country. Hey, those who died are first world people, not expected to die at a sporting event. Now, there is blame to go around, but do not devalue lives or dismiss the horror of what happened based on generalizations. And that is Hot Indonesia for this week. For Millie Lukito, Linda Ibrahim, and me, thank you very much for watching. Please join us again next time.